Hey everyone, so behind me is the great ball contraption layout at Bricks Rock at Syosset Library this weekend, and I'm going to give you a quick tour of the modules that are in it. So let's turn around and we'll have a look at some of these modules. So we begin with a random splitter. The randomness comes from the balls hitting that little pin and going into two streams, into two different parts of the balls. So we'll follow the front path first and then we'll come around. So we are starting with a Brick Fair 2018 workshop module, which has been blinged with some nice green tiles. We'll move into a very slow chain lift, which comes back up into a back and forth with the balls. This module moves into a Rams oscillant, I believe, probably said that wrong, and ends in this lavender lift module. So let's come back to the start of the split again, and we see we have, these are my rainbow lift modules. These are a variation of that same Brick Fair module to show the inner workings. So we'll come around those slowly, seeing all the different colours of the rainbow and end with lavender. Alright, the next module up is my water pipe module. The module I love to hate in so many ways. It has 4 different paths for the balls to come down. We have our high-speed slide with the loop-to-loop at the end. We've got a fast slide coming down the outside, and then we have 2 slow slides that work their way around the module. In the middle, there is a very slow flipper module that looks like a stair, that simulates the staircase of walking up a waterfall. The reason I love to hate it is it leaks an awful lot. There is some of the balls down the bottom, but I do enjoy the flow of the balls. That moves on into a Brick World stepper module. This module is in so many things these days. It's very extensible. In this case, it's very much the original build, just in a different colour in red. We move on to a cardan mechanism, and we move on to another Brick World ball pump, and you can see it's been extended up to make it a bit taller, and that comes into my ball return module. There it is, ball return. We have an animation, which is a hand holding a ball, a hand dropping a ball into the tub. And the inspiration for that was actually I was on holiday in Canada and saw one of the old triple flip signs. I thought, I can build that in Lego. That comes into an extended Donahue chain lift, which then comes up into one of Matt Norman's designs, Great Ball Pit, a Solaire, and I really like this design. Very simple, very reliable, and looks great. If we come out a bit now, we're into my tower shooter battle. And the reason Solaire works great in front of this is it provides a batch. And this module has a little divider that we can see here. And when it gets a batch of balls, it allows it to split the balls evenly into both shooters, which will then fire up into the net, which is working a lot better at the end of the day. Needed a bit of tuning to start with, but now we can fairly reliably get both those shots coming right up. We'll zoom in again. The balls will, from there, they sort of wind their way down the tower, past various superhero minifigs, on their way out into the next module. And this next module is a wheel lift designed by Brian Alano. Become a big fan of him in recent years. He's very good at producing small, easy to build, reliable modules. Then we come into a little transition module of sorts, which takes the output of the wheel lift and drops that simply into the next module. I'll come down a bit. We can see there's a couple of prisoners in the bottom as well. All right, moving on to the next module. This one's called GBC Rover. It's another one of my creations. It's an attempt at building a really simple bucket flipper that will be workshoppable by other people. That flips into another one of Mr. Norman's modules, Whirligig. And once again, I really like the design of this. Really simple frame, very simple mechanism, very easy to build. So certainly check out his site if you're interested in that one. Yeah, and instructions, built from instructions. From here we move into the mini golf, which for anyone that's seen GBC in the last couple of years have probably seen this in one of the videos. I have been taking it to a lot of shows, but we'll walk through it for benefit just again. So we start with our first right bend golf course. A bit of trivia on that one, that used to be a left bend golf course, and I flipped it around and made it a bit different. Then we have our Easter Island head, and the eyes actually light up at night on that one. Actually, a lot of my modules are set up for night running because there's some really cool night shows at Brick World Chicago that really make, we use glow-in-the-dark balls and really makes the show quite good. So now we're looking at the pyramid module. This one's a little interesting in that balls have a couple of different paths they can go. They can go down the center, or they can go down the water courses on either side. Being GBC though means that regardless of where they go, they always go into the next module, which in this case is hole number 4, the alligator run. And why I'm chuckling a little bit is we can see that the alligator, the alligator doesn't have a ball in its mouth, and I'll put one back. I like to have a ball in the alligator's mouth, and it is perpetually being put back into the loop from people thinking that it has been chomped by the alligator. Now into a very simple route, very simple course, just a couple of stones for obstacles for the balls. And we'll just give it a minute for some balls to come through. There we go. And then that moves up into my Tower Bridge module. This does actually have a couple of parts from the big Tower Bridge, not many though. It's mainly a little bit of the blue, the shields, and unfortunately all the other parts were not in the main set, so I had to come up with my own versions to create a miniature version of it. Another little minifig on the end there. This one is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Then we come into a long bend, GBC. That then comes up into the bridge module. Bridge module there, and there we go. You can hit it over the bridge. It can also hit it over this little, it can also go down this bypass here. All right, so moving along. The last and final is the windmill module. And once again, they can go through the center or they can go down the side, but they always go to the next module. I did have my original car for GBC. It says at par 9, this 9-hole golf course must be the easiest around. But then I later thought about it and thought actually a par 9 9-hole golf course is technically the hardest golf course around. All right, another Brian Alano wheel lift, this time in yellow. And then we get into the kids GBC area. So let me zoom out a bit so you can see this one. So this is a lowered area. It's lowered about 15 inches. Which is, I know it's 12 inches off the ground. So this allows smaller kids to actually really get in and have a look at the modules. And one of the different things about this area is every module in this section, with the exception of the up and down, has instructions. So let's have a look at what those modules are. First up, we have a GBC Serpentine. This is actually my variation of Brian Alano's original, which used rubber tires. This one is using vinyl eyes. Certainly by no means original to use vinyl eyes, but I did sit down and work out what the variations were to turn this module into this. And instructions are up on my website for that, lawriegeorge.com. Next we move into a Brick Fair workshop module that has been blinged with a little bit of glass and a lovely little space tile here. Then we move into a Brick Wild ball pump, this time in blue and yellow highlights. The next module along is GBC Upslide 0.5. The original model is GBC Upslide, which is a Matt Norman design, greatballpit.com. Another very interesting module, very original. I very much like the mechanism on this. My modification is just to have 2 little flippers moving the balls up. Not necessarily, probably slightly less reliable than the original, but a cool module to build nonetheless. Then we move over to a module called GBC Hogan. This is one of my designs. If it looks a little bit like Whirligig, that's because I really like the simplicity of Whirligig and wanted to build something in that same frame dimension. And it's also based on a module by Mako called Black 4-bars, which is this mechanism, this Hawkins linkage, which is a 4-bar linkage. So, and that's that motion you can see there. All right, let's move on to the next one. Next one is a Leslie Delura module. I think it's just simply called, I think it's just a stepper module, but I really like this one because it just looks like, the balls just look like they're rolling uphill, very fluid motion. It's a very clever building in the little pistons there when you get into that one. Yeah, so once again, all those modules have instructions. I'll put some links on my website so you can find them all quickly, but you can also jump onto other sites and find them all for people. All right, let's have a look. We have a reservoir lift. So this is my variation of a Stuart roll module. These modules are great. They hold about 300 balls. They are great, and they will pump them out at exactly 1 ball per second. The variation in this case is the ability to see the pistons moving through those clear windows. Now we move into we're a workshop module 01, which is another Matt Norman Great Ball Pit module. I had a real run of building his modules this month, all from instructions, makes it very easy for me to build. My modification is just to make it a little bit taller so that I can feed into this next module. And this next module is a little interesting. You might be thinking, where do the paper ramps come from? In this case, they come from this, which is a licensed Lego book produced by Klutz. And they basically give you a whole lot of pre-cut paper ramps. And in this case, we've incorporated them into a GBC module, putting this little flipper at the top. And the flipper will selectively send the ball down either the funnel or the ramps. And then you can see it'll go down each ramp selectively. From there, it's split into 2 parts. Let's have a quick look at the back path first. The back path, the first one up is a design that's up on pvproductions.com. I will, in the final video, I'll put some text in for the actual module because I can't think of it off the top of my head. This one is actually not built from a Lego kit, but all the PV instructions are designed to buy a Lego kit off the shelf, and then you can build a GBC module with those instructions. This then feeds into my GBC truck module. You can see it's just coming in now for a refill. Not many balls there for it to pick up. And let's see. Oh yeah, a couple more balls. And there we go. And it goes all the way down there and it puts in that reservoir, which we'll see in a second. So let's come back to where it splits. And we go into a Donahue. The first one is a Donahue in black. Then a GBC Donahue in blue. A GBC Donahue in... And a GBC Donahue in red. A GB Donahue in white. Another GBC Donahue in blue. This one's actually one of my variations. You might hear me saying I do a lot of variations, and that is because I do like to make small changes if I feel like it can run a bit better. In this case, I've changed it from the original gearing we have down here, which is a 24-tooth bevel, to the 24-tooth gear, using the new bevel gear. So not a very big change. Still a nice, easy module to build. Instructions are available for this one online. And okay, we're going to move now into a red GBC Donahue. And then we move into GBC Scareback. So these are designed by Mako. So if you've ever watched any of his videos, you'll have seen a lot of these modules. And the reason for that is they're a very clever design. Almost no friction in the pistons. A very smooth mechanism. And he has this special gearbox arrangement. So he has this drive motor here, we can see. And that then feeds into these little takeoff gearboxes. And the red and yellows are drive outputs from them. And if we zoom in here, we can see this one's coming off this yellow, this one's coming off the next. We can keep connecting these along and along. And when Mako uses this design in his layout, he'll often have 2 rows running. He will run a lot of these modules. He's very much the king of a shared power in big GBC layouts. Now we move into my variation of Mr. Atkinson's work in progress shooter. There are a few variations out there on YouTube now. There's a nice little shooter to use. Unfortunately, does use one of the old chrome headlights, which are a little bit expensive these days. Although one of the things we've found is that you may be able to use the new crown from Queen Whatever. It has very similar dimensions, but I haven't had a chance to try that yet. My main variation on his original is to reduce a jam that used to happen where balls would get stuck under the piston in here. So now they can sort of flow out. Now we move into a brick fair workshop module, another serpentine module that we can see here. And I really like the serpentine mechanism. It's very, very fluid to see those balls walking up the side of the mechanism. We come down now, we're at the end of the trucks run. There's that big reservoir module. That reservoir module we saw earlier. Another brick fair workshop module. This has been blinged up quite considerably. Some nice bronze colours on them there. And we end with my tower crane. So this is a bridge module. And if I can get far enough out so we can see it. This is a module designed to bridge gaps in table to allow us to get in and outside of the table. Why a tower crane? Well, I live in an area where a lot of construction goes on and there's always a tower crane up. And so I thought, I wonder if we could make a tower crane. It is fully using the struts to actually hold the jib up. The weight in the end has about 800 grams of weight in it to keep it all suspended. All right, and if we follow that along, the balls go across the top. Just wait for a couple to come up. There we go, they come across the top and down into that. And we're back at the start or the end, depending on how you look at it. For an idea of how big the tower crane is, I'm going to just stand underneath it. Here we go, standing right next to it. Stretch my arm out as far as I can, and you can see plenty of clearance. It's actually designed to create a standard doorway. So the table gives me this table, that's the first 30 inches, and then the tower crane itself goes another 50 inches up into the air. And once again, we'll span the standard gap. So it's very easy to get in and out of the group. Certainly tall enough to cover the gap and allow me through. So that's been the GBC loop at Syosset. We're here another day tomorrow, and then packing up, and my next show will be off in Vancouver at BrickCam. So I hope you have enjoyed the video, and I look forward to making more.